So the first one, transmedia stories rely on audience participation. So if we were to kind of compare a transmedia story to something that was strictly author-driven, um, audience-driven narratives and stories kind of rely on the audience, obviously, to kind of create content for that particular experience. I've got kind of detailed here below, maybe a pretty easy way of thinking about it would be something that's author driven, is kind of looking at the user, the reader, to kind of consume that work. It's kind of pre-written. You kind of interact with it simply by kind of understanding it. Whereas an audience-driven narrative, is going to rely on participation from the audience to co-create the experience with whoever was kind of operationally making this transmedia narrative. And then they're going to kind of feedback and forth between each other, that author or those authors and the audience that is kind of co-creating with them. So transmedia stories rely heavily on this concept of audience participation to not only get the content of, say, a story or a narrative or just information out to people, but also in terms of how that information grows and changes and evolves over time. Transmedia stories tend to do that as not only just something that happens, but something that's by design. So audience participation, huge in transmedia stories.